Okay, children. We start with the next part of the functions. We can see here on the screen, there are two ways in which we can pass the values to the function. Earlier, we had seen that function has three cycle steps. One is function prototyping, function calling, and function definition. When in the prototype of the function, if there are any argument list, if there is any argument list present, the argument have to be passed in the function. Now that passing of the argument list can be done by two ways. One is passed by value, other is passed by reference. So here in the picture, what you can understand is value means the value is being passed, and reference means the address is being passed where the value is stored. This much we can understand from the this image. So let us discuss this and understand more about how can the values be passed. Two ways: pass by value and pass by reference. Okay. So the next says that if my original value that I have passed has been modified, two answers: has it been modified, yes or no. If it has not been modified, we say that we are calling by value, and if it has been modified, then we say we are calling by reference. So two ways: call by value and call by reference. Now look here, seeing the example of call by value. This is the function prototype where I have two variables, two parameters as the argument list. Here I am calling the function. This is the return type of the function int. I'm calling the function. These are the values that are being passed on to the definition of the function in A and B. So these values which are passed on are called as actual parameters, and where they pass on to the definition of the function where you are writing down, that is called as a formal parameter. So num1, num2 are called as actual parameters, and A and B will be called as formal parameters. Okay. Here the value that has been passed, children, num1 has just passed on the value to A. Num2 has just passed on the value to B. There have been two separate type of variables that have been created. We have been separate variables to define actual parameters and formal parameters. Okay. Now when passing by value, is this is the whole story. Like I said, it creates a new variable for each parameter. Like in previous, the parameters are initialized with the values of the arguments. Now whatever the value num1 will send to A will have that value. Whatever the value num2 will send to B will have that value. That means it gets initialized with the arguments that are passed on through the parameters. When the function, obviously the function when it starts, it gets over also. When the function finishes, these variables which are called as local variables, they die there only. This I told you last time also. That is why they are called as local variables, and hence the value also dies inside the function only. So the original value remains unchanged. This is the meaning of the second slide that we asked, that if there is any modification made, no, that means I am calling by value. Okay. Now look at this program. Look at the left hand side of the screen where we are writing down a program. This is the best example that can be explained to see the difference between calling by value and calling by reference. We'll see the same example in second case also. Look here. Now we have two variables a and b having the values as 10 and 20. And I'm displaying the values of a and b. This is, I have not called any function yet. So values before calling the function. Now here I call a function ab. Okay. My value a and value b, that means the value in a, that is 10, the value in b, that is 20, has been passed on to x and y. So when I'm calling the function here, it will go and search for the definition. It is here, x and y. That means what is the initial value of x and y? 10 and 20. But in the function, I give a new value to x and y, 11 and 22. Okay. So that means what? A and B, which were passing on their values to x and y as 10 and 20, have got new value as 11 and 22 inside the function. Now when I go back to the main program, where do I go? I go to the statement following the calling of the function. That means इस statement के बाद वाली statement पे मेरा control आएगा. That means here. Now after I call my function, now let me see what my values are going to be for a and b, because they should be changed, because I changed them in the function as 11 and 22, isn't it? But look at the output, children. The output before calling and the values after calling is exactly the same. 10 and 20, 10 and 20. It has not become as 11 and 22. Why? Because these x and y, they did definitely got initialized by the values as 10 and 20, but inside the function they got a new value as 11 and 22, which remains in the function. And when the function is over, the values are deleted. When it goes back to the main function, a and b are with the same values which it initially had as 10 and 20. How has this happened? Now look at the right side of the screen. It says statement 1. We have labeled the statement 1 and 2. Statement 1 is passing the values of a and b to the calling function fun. They will receive the values in x and y, which are local to the function fun. Okay. So any changes that are made by the value variables x and y do not get affected in the values of a and b. Why? This is because there is a, children, this we assume that this is the memory of the computer. I have taken a variable which has been given this space and the value has been stored as 10 and it has this as the address. Obviously एक variable होगा, उसका value store होगा और उसका कुछ address होगा. ठीक है. Second value also has been given a space and it has this as the address. Now there is another set of variables made because I have these variables as formal arguments which make another set of variables. ठीक है. इनकी इनिशियलाइजेशन कैसे होगी? इनकी इनिशियलाइजेशन होगी जो वैल्यूज पास हो रही हैं, दैट इज 10 एंड 20. दैट मींस x की वैल्यू पहले 10 थी, y की वैल्यू 20 थी, बट द मोमेंट द फंक्शन गेट्स एग्जीक्यूटेड x has become 11 and y has become 22. तो यहाँ पे x एक वेरिएबल में एक ही वैल्यू स्टोर हो सकती है. सो x नाउ इंस्टेड ऑफ 10 overwrites it with 11 and y instead of 20 overwrites it with 22. But look at the modifications where it has been done. It has done with only x and y. No change has been done to a and b. So hence the a and b does not change at all. This concept is called as call by value. Now let us see call by reference में क्या होता है. The first slide showed us that reference means we are talking about the address. So here reference means that I will not make another set of variables, कुछ अलग से formal arguments नहीं बनेंगे. My change will be done to the original variable itself. I will go to the address where they are stored. I will make the changes in the original place and then print them if it is required. ठीक है? Look at the same example now, children. Now here we are using these symbols. You can see the symbols are being used. It's the same example. A and B as 10. Instead of A and B, I'm passing ampersand A and ampersand B. Here ampersand stands for the address, the reference of the operator. So ampersand आप कहीं भी देखोगे उसका मतलब होता है एड्रेस. और ये जो एस्टरिक सिंबल देख रहे हो, ये जब आप एड्रेस पास करते हो, a normal variable like int x cannot store an address. The storage of an address is required by a special variable called as pointer. ठीक है? I'll explain you what a pointer is. But यहाँ पे अभी इतना समझो that ampersand means an address, and an address is pointed and coming to a pointer. An address is pointed and coming to a pointer. ठीक है? अगर आप यहाँ normal x and y डालोगे तो mismatch हो जाएगा, because simple integer cannot hold a address. ठीक है? Now here again we are saying reference A and B are calling, and pointer x and pointer y are receiving the reference of A and B. Now any changes made by the reference will change the value. See how. सेम कॉन्सेप्ट है, वेरिएबल का नाम है, उसकी वैल्यू है और उसका एड्रेस है. ठीक है? ए में 10 स्टोर्ड है बिफोर आई कॉल, बी में 20 स्टोर्ड है बिफोर आई कॉल्ड द फंक्शन. नाउ व्हेन आई कॉल्ड द फंक्शन, जहां 10 स्टोर्ड है, द एड्रेस इज दिस. I'm passing this as the address and I'm storing it in the variable pointer x. ठीक है? And जहां पे 20 stored है, this address has been pointed as, given in the pointer as pointer y. Now when my function reads, it reads this pointer x and pointer y. When it says pointer x, it goes to that particular address. And वहां पे क्या था? 10. तो वो 10 को ओवरराइट करके a में एक्चुअल वैल्यू अब क्या आ गई? 11. और यहाँ पे b किसको पॉइंट कर रहा है? एम्परसेंड b पॉइंटर y को, तो वो पॉइंटर y में आएगा. पॉइंटर y में क्या स्टोर्ड है? एड्रेस. वो फिर उस एड्रेस को सर्च करेगा, वहां जाएगा. What is it? The value of b is there. It will be overwritten as 22. So hence, before I call my function, the values are 10 and 20. But after I call my function, these are now the values which have been modified in the address itself. Hence, the changes have been done in the original place. Clear hua? Simple example, children. A teacher gives you 4 pages of notes. उसमें से एक बच्चा, सपोज वेदांत ने उसमें एक मेरे पास आया और उसने मिस्टेक निकाली. मैम इस लाइन में मिस्टेक है. सो व्हाट विल आई डू? इट्स आइदर वेदांत के पास जो कॉपी है मैं उसमें अगर करेक्शन कर दूंगी तो वेयर हैज द करेक्शन बीन डन? ओनली इन वेदांत's copy, isn't it? But if I do the correction in my copy and then I tell you to take the printout or the Xerox, what has happened? You all have also got the copy which has the correct statement now. So if Vedant is coming to me and getting corrected, that is called by value. But if I correct it in the original copy and pass on the copy to you, that is called by reference. Okay? What here we have to understand is the concept of pointers. The pointer, any variable which has this asterisk symbol before it, when we are defining the variable, declaring the variable, that variable is called a pointer variable, and that variable can be used or is used to store the address of the वेरिएबल. ठीक है, अब यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल देखो. int var, this is a simple declaration where I'm declaring a variable var as integer type and giving the value as 10. अगर मैं यहाँ पे cout var करूंगी तो क्या वैल्यू आएगी? 10. But if I say int pointer variable, pointer p, तो ये जो मैंने पॉइंटर p किया है इसमें मैं क्या स्टोर कर सकती हूँ? द एड्रेस वेयर माई var इज स्टोरिंग द वैल्यू 10. Look here now. This is p, this variable which is a pointer. Okay. And this is var which has the value 10. और जो भी वेरिएबल होता है उसका कोई ना कोई एड्रेस तो होता है. ठीक है. So what is this p storing? P is storing var's address. और var का एड्रेस क्या है? 98C4C. 98C4C. This is the value of p because p is a pointer and var की वैल्यू क्या है? Normal value of a mathematical number, that is 10, because var is a simple variable. So understand that जहां आप pointer use कर रहे हो, that means you have given this variable the privilege to store an address of a variable which is int type. ठीक है. अगर यहाँ मैं कैर लिखूंगी तो मेरा पॉइंटर कैर हो जाएगा. डज नॉट मीन कि मेरा उसका वैल्यू कैर है. नो, इट मीन्स इट इज स्टोरिंग द एड्रेस ऑफ अ वेरिएबल विच इज ऑफ कैरेक्टर टाइप. ठीक है चिल्ड्रन, जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड दिस कॉन्सेप्ट. जहां पे एम्परसेंड आता है दैट मीन्स द एड्रेस. जहां पे एस्टरिक सिंबल आता है उसका मतलब होता है एक पॉइंटर वेरिएबल जिसके पास ये बहुत बड़ी प्रिविलेज है कि वो एक एड्रेस को स्टोर कर सकता है. सो दिस p is storing the address and var is storing simple value 10. It is a very important concept and I hope you have understood this concept here. ठीक है. And this is direct differences that I have given to you. A copy of actual parameter is passed in formal parameters, or a copy is passed here, reference is passed. ठीक है. यहाँ पे changes in formal parameters will not result. ये हमने देखा a b 1020 था, 1122 करके देखा, no change हुआ. यहाँ पे change हुआ. सेपरेट मेमोरी लोकेशन ये भी हमने देखा, ए एंड बी को अलग मेमोरी थी, एक्स एंड वाई की अलग मेमोरी थी. और यहाँ पे देखा ए एंड बी ही था, उनको कहाँ स्टोर किया हुआ है उसकी एड्रेस वाज मेंशन्ड. ठीक है. थैंक यू चिल्ड्रन.